Ian Blackford has threatened Boris Johnson with a Brexit bargaining chip, as the SNP tries to lead a coalition to extend the Brexit transition period beyond 2020. Ian Blackford has suggested he will deploy an anti-Brexit coalition against Boris Johnson this week, as the SNP ramp up their demands for a Brexit transition extension. Earlier this week, the SNP's Westminster leader repeated his call for the Brexit transition period to be extended for 2 years due to the COVID-19 crisis. This morning, the senior SNP figure took charge of a meeting of opposition leaders, raising a plan to stop the possibility of a no-deal Brexit. Speaking to BBC's Good Morning Scotland, Mr Blackford said, "I want to commend the other opposition parties actually because we are working together. It is important that the opposition leaders show responsibility here. We will have our own discussions this morning before we meet with the PM." The BBC's Laura Maxwell grilled him on this, saying, "I want to ask you about that actually. You have written to the opposition leaders asking them to support you on their request for a 2-year extension to the Brexit talks. Is that some sort of bargaining chip you can use against the Prime Minister?" Mr Blackford responded, "There are a number of things that concern us. The fact is we face an enormous economic shock because of what we will have to do over the spring and summer period. We can't have the threat of a no deal on top of that. No one is saying the Prime Minister shouldn't deliver what he believes he was elected to do, but business cannot take a second hit. The sensible thing to do is focus on the crisis we have at hand and let us park these discussions on Brexit and the future relationship until after this crisis." This week, Mr Blackford wrote to opposition parties and urged them to make the pandemic the sole focus of our collective efforts. He has also called for a cross-party alliance to push for an extension to the Brexit transition and prevent the chilling prospect of crashing out without a deal. Mr Blackford accused the Conservative government of behaving with the height of irresponsibility by not extending talks with the EU in the midst of the pandemic. In his letter, Mr Blackford said, "It is right that all other political agendas are paused as we deal with the priority of saving lives and protecting people's incomes." He added, "In that context, I believe now is the right moment to unite as opposition parties in Westminster in seeking a 2-year extension to the Brexit transition period. That strong, united opposition stance would also send a powerful message to our European friends and partners, who we know are favourable to the logic and sense of this request." Last week the UK government repeated its pledge that it had no intention of changing the exit date. At Prime Minister's questions last week, Mr Blackford said threatening to impose Brexit in the middle of a global pandemic would damage jobs, businesses and the economy. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, standing in for Boris Johnson at the time, said the transition period was enshrined in law.